On the evening of June 15th, 5-year-old Summer Moon Utah Wells went missing from her Tennessee home. She had been planting flowers with her mom and grandma and apparently had gone into the house to play. She has not been seen since. There has been an exhaustive search for her. However, the area that she lives in, Beech Creek, Tennessee, is very rural and rugged, and the search has been very difficult. What may make this case even sadder is that Summer is not the first person to go missing from her family. Her aunt, Rose Bly, an adult, went missing towards the end of August 2009. Though authorities don't think that the cases are related, it's shocking to see this hit a family twice in a row. There has been a lot of speculation about what happened to both Rose and Summer. Katie and Kristi lay out this sad and perplexing case. Hey everybody, and welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. This is Katie Weaver, and I'm here with my co-anchor, sister, and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey everybody. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so this is our Tuesday case, and it's a biggie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a mountain is what it is.
It is.
We're going to try to climb it today, but I don't know.
We'll probably climb it a few more times, but we're going to give you the basics of both of these family members' cases so that you guys can, you may have been already introduced to this case. It was a listener request, actually multiple listener requests, but I want to make something clear from the get-go. Summer's case is brand new. She has only been missing for a month. We will not do a read on this case. We are presenting you with the info and the facts only, and you can do what you want with that, but it's too fresh, too new, and we would never interfere that way. So we won't be reading this case, just to be very, very clear on that.
Yeah.
All righty. So to start with, we felt like we should back up and start at the beginning and back up to Rose. And so, Kristi, you have the details of Rose's disappearance, so I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
Yeah. Okay. So Rose Bly is Summer's aunt. Summer's mom, Candus, and Rose are sisters. And Rose has been missing since 2009. So let's talk about this a little bit. At the time that she went missing, she had 2 children, 2 small toddlers, and she had been married for a very brief amount of time to a man named Christopher Larson. This marriage had been real up and down, and it was sort of, pretty well known that it was kind of headed for divorce.
Yeah,
really. So this was a Friday night, and she had dinner with her husband and his father, and her husband, Chris Larson, is the last person to have seen her. She said she was going to a nearby town called Cushing. It was only about 5 miles away, and she was going to have drinks with her cousin. That's what she had told her husband. So according to him. So she left about 7:30 p.m. and it was a 5-mile drive. I mean, it's not that far. Pretty quick. Should have been. Unfortunately, later, her cousin said that they didn't know anything about these plans, that this plan had not been made with them.
Yeah.
And that they did not see Rose on that evening, nor had they ever seen her again.
Yeah.
Her children were 1 and 2. She was a little tiny gal. She was 5 feet tall. She weighed 110 pounds. And she was a stay-at-home mom. She had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, man. She was devoted to those kids. That was her whole life.
Yeah.
So 5 days after she disappeared, her car was found in a parking lot quite a ways. It was 15 miles from Cushing, where she was supposed to have gone.
Yeah.
And about 30 miles from where she was living. It was actually the town where she had attended high school. Her car didn't really show them anything. It was just sitting in a parking lot. The keys were not in it. No one really saw anything. It was just there. There didn't seem to be any evidence in the car. Her husband, Chris, did say that she called him that evening to say that she would be home around midnight.
Mm-hmm.
We have his report of that, and her cell phone does show a call to him.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to believe that she just took off on him.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very challenging relationship, and there'd been some domestic violence, and he had actually talked about filing for divorce a couple of months before she went missing, because they had a domestic violence incident.
Mm-hmm.
He said that she slapped him. She said that he put her in a headlock and slammed her to the ground. She actually ended up with charges over it. I couldn't see that he did end up with charges over that. At that point, he started divorce proceedings, and then apparently she talked him out of it, and he withdrew that petition. But 3 weeks after her disappearance, he filed for divorce, and he asked for full custody of their children,
Mm-hmm.
and basically said that she had just run off on them. She did have a bench warrant. This is what she had. She had a bench warrant for she had a disorderly conduct charge that was part of that domestic violence issue.
Yeah.
She did plead not guilty to that in July, but they did just sort of let it go because she disappeared and never came back.
Yeah.
Her husband, or ex-husband now, was given full custody of her children.
He really acted like he thought she was going to show back up at some point and just want to waltz right back into their lives, and he was trying to make sure that couldn't happen.
He did, or he wanted to give that impression.
Yeah.
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 They interviewed her ex-husband, her friends and family. They didn't find anything.
Yeah.
They didn't find any evidence of her at all. It was as though she had just vanished.
Yeah. Her phone didn't really give them much either. Now, of course, this was 2009, but she hadn't been talking on the phone to anybody that was out of the ordinary.
No, she hadn't. And her phone did show that call to her husband, although this is 2009, which I think probably they weren't doing GPS back then. So they know the phone made the call, but they don't know from where.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, basically, Rose is just gone.
Yeah.
And there are very few theories.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband did take a polygraph after she went missing.
Mm-hmm.
After that, they said he is not a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
He has continued to live in the same community and raise his 2 girls. He's just basically gone on as though she just disappeared.
Yeah.
Which is really strange.
Her mother has pushed and pushed and pushed authorities to keep looking for her and find her.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those, she's an adult, and adults have the right to disappear if they want to.
Right.
And that's kind of where it ends.
But that is the excuse used for missing women all the time. Missing women who just wander away and, they just abandon their 1 and 2-year-old. No, that is not normal behavior for a woman.
No.
In any situation, that is not normal behavior.
Not at all.
They've basically had 3 theories. Number 1, of course, is that the husband did something to her. Number 2, that she left town with someone else, that she made a plan to leave the area and take off and, knew he would never let her take the kids and just got out.
Yeah.
Again, she talked him out of divorce after the domestic incident, and she was a stay-at-home mother with her children. I mean, do you really think that she's the kind of person that would just abandon them? I'm sorry, but no women. It's very rare for a woman to do something like that. It's much less rare for a woman to be thought of as doing that. It's almost like she's the victim in this situation, but not really, because she's abandoned her children,
Totally.
The other thought is that she fell victim to some kind of random crime out on the highway. Maybe she tried to help someone and she was abducted. But it just doesn't really feel like that either.
No.
I mean, why was her car in that parking lot?
Right.
What was that about? So here we have Rose Bly missing without a trace. And then we have 11 years later, her niece Summer missing without a trace. The police don't believe that these cases are connected. However, I do want to say that I feel like they show at least some kind of a pattern of the family dynamics in this family, in that she was experienced domestic abuse. There was clearly emotional abuse going on here. Every time anything happened, he just threatened to take the kids from her.
Yeah.
Guys, this is classic batterer behavior. Behavior. And you're so broken up about your wife leaving that after 3 weeks you file divorce papers? Come on. None of this is normal. None of it.
No. Not at all.
No. I mean, clearly it was like he just didn't even care. Like, he didn't care what had happened to her. He just wanted those kids and wanted to be in control, and he just...
Right. You consider, if you went missing tomorrow, who do you think would lead the charge in helping find you?
Right.
Your spouse, right? Not in this case. Not luckily, I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter that much, but it's been Rose's mother who's pushed and pushed and pushed because he hasn't done a damn thing.
No, he really acts like he just doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
And has, just made sure that he had control of everything. And made it, I think that his behavior has really made it look like she just waltzed off with some man and she may try to waltz back in at some point.
Yeah.
The only evidence of that is what he says in his behavior.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of that at all, actually. So that's what's happened to Rose Bly.
Yeah. What did?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Summer. So Summer disappeared in June. On June 15th, she was supposedly planting flowers in the garden with Mom and Grandma, and went in the house and told her brothers that she was going to go downstairs to play. And no one ever saw her again. And so realize this is an extremely rural place where cell phones don't even work a lot of the time. Like that's how backwoods this place is.
Yeah.
And so at 6:30, it was 5:30 when she, Mom thinks she went into the house. At 6:30, they called the police and reported her missing. I believe Dad did. At midnight, they released an endangered child alert. And then just a little after 11 a.m. the next day on June 16th, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, which we will be referring to as TBI, they changed the endangered child alert to an Amber Alert. So the very next day. Now, you have to understand, if they're changing it, if they're calling this an Amber Alert, it's because they believe that she has been kidnapped.
Right.
That's what the Amber Alert is for. So they issue an Amber Alert because they had brought dogs in, and the dogs tracked her scent from the back door of the house all the way down a dog trail in the woods to a road. And that's where her scent ended.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't stop searching the woods. They continued to search the woods for quite a while, but you have to understand what you're dealing with here. The terrain is impossible.
Yeah.
It's really, really dense and thick and steep in places. And they were out there with search crews and with dogs and doing everything they can to find this precious 5-year-old little girl. But they were turning up absolutely nothing. So they really, after several days, they really scaled the search back. There was a rumor on Facebook or on the internet that they were scaling back because they had run out of money to search for her. And the sheriff came back and said, that's absolutely not true. We'll spend whatever it takes.
Right.
But we're not finding anything. And this is an extremely dangerous and difficult terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they're going, we're doing our best, but they also,
right.
The cell phone service being so poor also made it really difficult to communicate. And so, it's a really hard situation.
Well, and the rumor mill on Facebook is making it way harder, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. People and their outrage, on Facebook has made it much harder, and on the internet in general. Yeah. Yeah. One frustration that the TBI has had is that they haven't had the amount of leads that they expected they would have. They haven't actually had that many. So here's one more look. I mean,
you look at where this is, how many people could have even been there to see anything?
Right. I believe this is the Smoky Mountain area, but I'm not well schooled in Tennessee geography, but I believe that's correct. So at any rate, of course they're still looking. They had searched 680 acres in 2 days. Man. Imagine that. 680 acres in 2 days with their team. And that's around that time, a little after that's when they kind of started to scale back because, my God, at any rate, Dad has done a lot of interviews and he has said things that kind of bothered people. And that's kind of started some of the internet firestorm.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 days after she disappeared, he told the Times News, when I got home, I drove to the bottom of the property and I realized that all my neighbors and stuff were combing the woods looking for her. And I realized right then and there she was not there. I knew right then and there that she was gone because she would never leave there on her own. Somebody had taken her. So he really started kind of right away with the idea that she had been kidnapped. But of course, the authorities believed that as well, considering where her scent went.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was some talk that cadaver dogs had been called out. Then the sheriff said, no, we're not using cadaver dogs. We've been using rescue dogs. Then later on, they did say that, yes, maybe some cadaver dogs had been out and had picked up on nothing at all. So, again, the misinformation has been really strong in this case.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is with a missing child. People just freak out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to kind of stand back and let law enforcement do their job. I mean, you can get all pissed on Facebook all you want, but you're not the one out there searching these woods.
Yeah.
This is insane.
So 1 week after she disappeared, TBI said they had received 221 tips.
Okay.
One thing they were asking neighbors in the area was to check barns, crawl spaces, anywhere that a child might hide or get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just literally are getting nothing from the tips that they've got. They have a vanished child. Yeah. And, some specialized searches went on, but the huge push for searching at that point was done. On June 23rd, investigators set up a roadblock to stop people and ask them if they had seen anything unusual on the day she disappeared. Part of the problem is that in this area, just getting information to the residents is a little bit iffy because not everybody has the internet. Not everybody, is dialed into the digital world as much as other places. And so
Right.
they really literally needed to speak to residents face to face and say, hey, did you know this has happened? Did you see anything?
Yeah.
It didn't turn up much, unfortunately.
Mm.
So there was one witness that said that they saw a red Toyota pickup. And so TBI has been asking ever since for the driver of a red Toyota pickup to come forward. They're not being accused of anything. A witness thinks that they may know something, whatever that means. They said it was a 1998 to 2000 maroon or red Toyota Tacoma with a full bed ladder rack along with white buckets in the truck bed.
Hmm.
They have not found that truck nor the driver, but that was the one lead that they were kind of poking around at, is that that person might have seen something.
Mm-hmm.
So by June 27th, they had really scaled back search operations because it just wasn't turning up anything. On July 1st, the Polk County Sheriff's Office in Wisconsin said that they were now putting a little more energy into the disappearance of Rose Bly, because
So it gotten
now
some
everybody
attention.
wants to know what the hell's going on with that. Yes.
Well, and it is a weird thing that they both have disappeared, basically vanished into thin air.
Yeah.
Like there are some strange similarities, and I'm not saying
Mhm.
that it's the same perpetrator, but it does feel similar in that she was there and then she wasn't, like, I don't know. That is strange because they literally had nothing on Rose.
Yep.
And it's possible it's because they really didn't try very hard.
That seems pretty likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on July 12th, TBI said they had received 935 tips, but that they hadn't really borne any fruit. On July 13th, they said that Shelley Smitherman, she's the assistant special agent in charge, said the frustrating part for law enforcement in this case and for the public is that we will continue to investigate and search for Summer. In the public's eye, there may not be as much media attention given to the case, but that does not mean we will stop what we are doing. She was referring to credible leads and tips, and that, they're going to act on anything they get that they can, but they're just really not getting anything useful.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where things are at. Summer has blonde hair and blue eyes. Her hair is cropped very close to her head. It sounds like she tried to cut her own hair, and her parents ended up having to shave her head and start over. So, as little ones do sometimes. There was a rumor that they had cut all of her hair off because she had lice. Her parents said that's not true at all. She just got at it herself. She wanted it cut short and they didn't do it. And so she went at it herself and cut it off. And so they kind of had to go ahead and just cut it off. So she's 3 feet tall. She weighs 40 pounds. She was last seen wearing gray pants, a pink shirt, and was possibly barefoot. So that's what we know so far. Why are people so upset about this case, besides the fact that a 5-year-old has vanished? Well, there's some weird stuff with the parents that people are not feeling. And one of those things is that mom and dad both have criminal records. And that's really bothering people. That there's, whenever a child goes missing, the first thing we do is wonder about the parents,
Right.
And these two do have a criminal record, both of them. And in fact, dad has some pretty recent stuff. So it looks like Dad, just last October, there was a domestic violence incident in the home, and he was removed from the home after Mom called the police, and the police ended up arresting him in his driveway, driving drunk with a pistol in the glove box that he's not allowed to possess because he is a felon for violent crimes.
Right.
So, in the order of protection, Candus, Mom, wrote, "He drinks and throws things. I'm afraid of being hurt. He is physically abusive and mentally towards me. I'm afraid for my children and myself. My mother fears he is going to hurt her because she is staying on her camper on the property."
Mm-hmm.
So he was actually, they had a restraining order. And then 2 weeks later, she went to the courts and dropped charges and said that they had reconciled.
Yeah. Typical domestic violence pattern there.
Yeah, very typical, right? And so they did, he did plead guilty to possession of a firearm while under the influence, but that was as far as that went. But long before that, he's quite a bit older and has 2 adult children that live in Utah. He has been convicted of multiple violent felonies and served time in prison for convictions involving drugs and burglaries in Arkansas, Utah, and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the late 90s and early 2000s, he was back in jail multiple times for parole violations.
Well, there'd been some child protection involvement with those older kids.
Yes, there's been child protection involvement. Mom, Candus, has a criminal record as well in the state of Wisconsin, and also has a guilty plea on misdemeanor domestic abuse charges in 2003. So it's a pretty rough situation. And yes, the child protection has been involved in this family as well. And so, yes, people are concerned and are talking because this seems like a pretty rough deal.
It does, but I think we have to be really careful. But just because these parents have criminal records does not mean they did this. It also doesn't mean they didn't do it. Like, you've got to investigate them, but also investigate everything else too. I think we have to sit back and let the police do their jobs. They're pretty savvy when it comes to these kinds of situations.
Mm-hmm.
They know that the parents are number one on the list.
Absolutely.
They cannot be the only ones on the list because if they can't find anything on the parents, they have to be running sort of parallel investigations, one for outside of the family and one inside of the family. Mm-hmm. It's a huge mistake to choose one or the other at the beginning, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Dad says that they have had lie detector tests on Dad and Mom, and that they both passed them. Dad had his pretty immediately, 2 days after she went missing, and they waited on Mom for several more days because she was so upset. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to note that one of the things that people are really bugged about is Mom's behavior. Mm-hmm. She acts really weird. If you go find an interview of her, she's acting very strange. People have been, kind of wondering, is she a drug addict? Is she drinking? Is this whatever? Neighbors have said, no, this is her. This is how she always acts. There's nothing new about this. Mm-hmm. Dad says she's not on any kind of medication, but her bizarre, kind of out of it, loopy behavior has really made people wonder what in the world is going on.
She may have had a drug problem in the past that has given her some long-term effects.
I wondered about that because she does seem off.
She could be very much in shock. I mean, you can't discount the trauma of this mm-hmm. in how it affects Mom's behavior and Dad's behavior. You just can't.
No.
And okay, so Mom's acting weird. Does that mean she did it? No. Does it mean she didn't do it? No. Like, we have to be careful and not jump to conclusions based on one element of anything.
Yep.
Because things are always much more complicated than we think, Well, I think go ahead.
You got to think of with Candus, she's been through the trauma of her sister vanishing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now her daughter and her
She's
sister never came back.
already done this. Yeah,
Yeah,
and her sister is still missing.
yeah.
Yeah, the trauma of that has got to be really, really hitting her. And so I would just be a little bit kind to her that
Mhm.
you don't know. You don't know what this woman has been through.
No. Dad has Facebooked too much, probably. He's put a lot of things
Mhm.
out there that he should probably stop because
He's
people
kind
are.
of a blowhard, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
that's who he is, that's his personality. Does that mean he did it? No. Does that mean
No,
he didn't do it? No. But
but
but yeah.
yeah. He said just recently that he believes that she is dead, that statistically he doesn't think it's possible that she's still alive, and that he'll see her in the resurrection.
Mhm.
They go to a church that I'm not sure. I've tried to figure out which church it is. It looks like it's kind of a born again kind of church.
Mhm.
He's actually from Provo, Utah, or lived in Provo for quite a while,
I know. I was very
which
curious. I thought
I
maybe he was a Mormon, but
me too. And I dug and dug to see if this was actually an LDS church because they talk about church a lot. I can't find any evidence that it is. And the stuff he says sounds more like a born again Christian than it does an LDS person.
yeah.
So I don't think that that's true. But a lot of YouTubers have taken a really deep dive into the family. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of looking. So I'm going to say this: if you want to dive deeper into this, go there. There's a really, really extensive Reddit thread or Reddit. Is it called a thread?
Mhm.
About Summer Wells.
A group,
You can
Reddit group.
search for that. I've spent so many hours down the rabbit hole of this case already, and a lot of it I just didn't feel like it was worth reporting. A lot of things aren't really corroborated, so we're
Tons of
trying
it
to
is
not be part of the
speculation
problem. Yeah.
and guessing, and we don't wanna share we're gonna share the facts,
Hmm.
and we're not gonna share all the speculation because it doesn't help this situation at all.
One thing that happened is that people discovered that there is a Don Wells from Utah that is a convicted sex offender. It's not this Don Wells, it's his son. His adult son is a convicted sex offender. But
Okay.
that had people very stirred up, thinking that he's a convicted sex offender. He is, to the best of our knowledge, he's not, but his son is.
Mhm.
But he's in Utah. He's not in Tennessee.
Right.
Uh, Dad also alibied with work that he was at work when she disappeared, and he was at work for a while after she disappeared. It seems to me that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations is on top of it, that
Mhm.
they are working their tails off to figure this case out and to find this little girl, and that they are taking a hard look at all of the evidence and all of the stuff with this family. Of course they are. And I think we just we let them do it.
Mhm. Yeah, we do. We let them do it, and yes, of course, we can watch, but let's
Yeah.
not get involved in the rumor mill and the piling on and attacking people that happens sometimes in social media in cases like this. It's not okay.
No, and it's not helpful. So, at any rate,
No.
that's kind of where we stand on it. I know a lot of you guys have asked us to take a look at this case, and so we have.
Mhm.
This is where it's at. So, as of today, Summer is still missing. The TBI, maybe they have some great credible leads at this point. If they do, they're not saying so.
No.
There seems to really be nothing. However, it has, of course, in the area that Rose went missing, it has also energized her case. So we're hoping. So our thoughts go out to their family. I
Mm.
was thinking so much, not just about Candus and what she's lost, but also Grandma.
Yeah. Who's also
She,
Candus.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Grandma that, Rose is gone and now her granddaughter's gone too. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that's I cannot fathom having a family member disappear and you're 10 years, 11 years later, and they're still not back. That's
Yeah.
just crazy.
Yeah. Yep. A lot happening here. So there it is. Is there anything else to say, or did we cover it? I think we got it.
I think we got it. Yeah, I think we got it. I think that it's important to note that we don't read these cases for multiple reasons, one of which no
Yeah.
one has been charged or convicted of anything, and we have to be careful. We can't do what's called libel or slander. Also, we do not like to predict outcomes of cases that are so new.
Yeah.
Because that can be really unkind to family members. Older cases that have been around a long time, that's one thing, but new cases, no, we don't do that.
No, it feels very much like the wrong thing to do. So,
It does.
Yep. Well, that is it. So this is our Tuesday case. We'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday with another look, a new look into a huge document dump that just hit the media from Arizona regarding the Vallow case. There's some pretty interesting gems there. There's some stuff there that we'll do our best to interpret. That's a lot of religious speak, spirit speak-ish, Chad speak.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Just a clarification of some timelines that I think
yes,
powerful, really powerful. To
for
start
sure.
seeing this stuff in the order that it happened
Yeah,
it's pretty mind-boggling, really.
It is. Seeing it all laid out, it's definitely helping everyone, I think, to put their heads together and around this case a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be back with that tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll be back Wednesday night for case updates. There is a small update out of Georgia, the case that we reported on a couple of weeks ago. This is the shooting deaths of the sister and sister-in-law. There is a small case update there with some mystery and some other things as well. Then, of course, we'll be back Thursday night for the Psychic Hour at 7 p.m. Mountain. So lots more to come this week. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share if you like what you're seeing. And thanks you guys so much for being here. Also, keep an eye on Patreon. We have a brand new Patreon out. It is all about murderabilia. It is a conversation between Kristi, myself, and my son, Micah, who is a criminology minor and psych major in college. And he's had a lot of criminology classes and had some thoughts on murderabilia. So that was a really fun conversation.
Sure was, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's up. You guys, thank you so much for being here. This has been yet another production of True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Take care.